because Patreon, every time you get like a new subscriber, sends you a mail if you have the option set up. Right now I have it removed, but back then I had it set up. And I was just like getting mail after mail after mail of like, oh, you got a new subscriber, you got a new subscriber, you got a new subscriber. And basically I went from like $80 to like 800, I think.
So hold on. This is a critical mass moment.
Yeah, it blew up.
Keep it nerdy. Keep it nerdy. Keep it real nerdy. Nerdpreneur, you know I love my work. Life's a game, so I'ma take my turn. Nerds deserve to put their passion first, so let them rap a verse so they can all be heard.
My nerdy passion is turning video game guide books into a profit.
We are dice retailers.
Correct. I'm a breeder of tarantulas, importing tarantulas and some other critters.
I am a harpist. I do mainly Celtic harp, video game songs, songs from nerdy TV shows.
I wanted to make props for D&D.
I am a small independent board game designer.
Making fairy wings.
Nerdpreneur, you know I love my work.
Welcome to Nerdpreneur, where we have fun conversations with people making money with their nerdy passion. My name is Chris, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Frank.
Hello.
And today we have a very special guest, and his name is Evan, but he's much better known online and in the D&D universe as MonkeyDM. Welcome to the show.
Hello, nice to meet you all.
Thanks for coming on. I've been super excited to talk to you because when I was thinking of people for this podcast that would be kind of like perfect guests for this type of show, you were right near the top of my list as far as a nerdpreneur. And so, Evan, MonkeyDM, what is your nerdy passion?
I'll let you guess, but yeah, D&D. I do a lot of that.
A lot of D&D, that's true. I mean, you make tons of D&D content, and it sounds like you have kind of carved out a niche within the Dungeons and Dragons universe. How did you find this nerdy passion for D&D?
So actually, role-playing games, I didn't start with D&D. I was born in France and moved to Romania later. In France, I met friends who were, like, I've always been into nerdy stuff. Like, I was a big Halo fan, played a ton of that in high school. Probably way more than my mother would have wanted, but, you know. And anyway, so I met some friends, and they introduced me to the thing called Donjon de Nalbuck, which is like Nalbuck's dungeon. I think it's a very French thing, but it's basically D&D, but like Looney Tune version. So it's like very like comedy oriented. The races are very, very dumb and not serious. Like they're like all the stereotypes that you can find about like ogres and goblins and gremlins and whatever you want. It was a blast. It was hilarious. And that was maybe 15 years ago. So that's how I started. We had a campaign on this, surprisingly, that lasted about 2 years. I moved to Romania, and then in Romania, I somehow ended up with another friend of mine who I used to play that game with, came with me. So we kept playing, we had like our little table, and at some point we had like a 1 year, 2 years hiatus. We're all focusing on our studies. And then one day I was like, damn, I'm bored. Because I didn't have any consoles, I didn't have anything in my student apartment, and my laptop could not run a game for the life of it. Like I'm probably even playing Tetris on it would crash it. It's very, very I've upgraded the hardware since, let's just say that. So I was like, you know what? I had a lot of fun back then with like this tabletop game, and that's how I discovered D&D. I was just like looking some like easy game that I could get into. It was towards the beginning of 5e, and so we started playing that, and boy, that was so fun. I was a dungeon master for a while. Like we played like weekly, every week for maybe, I don't know, like 2-3 years, something like that. Then there was like another year break where I didn't touch it, and then somehow randomly YouTube knew what I wanted, and it showed me Critical Role. And I was like, that seems interesting. So I listened to like the episode and I'm like, oh, they're good. Like the voices, damn, they're talented, right? So I listened to like Critical Role and I'm like, damn, okay, now I want to play D&D again, right? It's like the itch. It's like, oh my God, it's coming back. And so I look up on, I don't know if it was Google, Facebook, whatever. I'm looking for like basically a place where like people gather to play board games. That was the idea, right? And I found one which was like really not far away from my place. And I go there, start playing D&D again. having a ton of fun again. Then like met some new friends, and then like basically like a whole new D&D group that reformed, and it's been on since then pretty much.
Whoa.
I guess I should segue into like how I transitioned to the whole Patreon thing at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's where I was going to go. Like, how did this then become a business from once you created this group together?
So I'm already impressed because you were able to create a weekly D&D group for 2 years. That's like already a difficult thing for people to have going on. Just playing regularly is an accomplishment.
Yeah.
I would agree with that one. So like the advantage was that we were younger, so like less responsibilities, less stuff in life, so it was easier to schedule. And most of the times we just like had school together, and we would just like gather at the end of like one of the school days to someone's place.
I'm curious, did you guys have a regular day that you actually played every single week? Was it just sort of like in the schedule every week, or did that shift at all?
Usually we played on Wednesdays, right? I was the DM, but sometimes, because the players really enjoyed the campaign, they're like, hey man, how do you feel about we do another game tomorrow?
Nice. I miss those days, man. I remember what that felt like. Do you still do that?
Sometimes. It's more rare now.
That's okay. Well, that's great that still happens. For me, it's just like, nope, next week, like, guys, I'm too busy. I can't do any other night this week. You're just going to have to wait till next week.
Yeah, becoming an idol, basically.
Was that the first time you had been a dungeon master, or did you start off right off the bat being a dungeon master?
No, I started as a player in the other game for about a year. And then I transitioned to being a dungeon master in that game, and then transitioned again in D&D. And then I was mostly a player, and then I switched to being mostly a DM. And now it's both, I would say.
Okay.
I'm one of those lucky DMs that gets to be a player every now and then.
That's good.
That's a great thing, yeah, because it doesn't happen that often, especially if you're good at it.
Yeah.
But I think being a player is so much fun. It's just so much fun to mess around and screw with someone else's campaign instead of your own.
Oh, God. I do find sometimes people are a little intimidated about, if you're a good DM, they're like, oh, I don't feel like I could measure up to that person. And I feel like it's just best if they just keep doing it. And they're scared to step into those shoes.
Yeah, fair enough. To be fair, none of us is like Matthew Mercer or anything. So I mean, sure, there's definitely like people are better at DMing than others because there's more experience, they've done it for longer. I don't feel like in our group, we definitely have like, I would say like 3 people who like alternate the DM mantle. So like basically everybody gets to be a player and everybody has their DMing style. That's kind of cool. And since that was established from mostly the beginning, I would say, I don't think there was ever that block. So we got lucky on that point.
Nice.
Why do you love Dungeons and Dragons?
I can cast Fireball on the people that annoy me.
I saw that mentioned in one of your recent YouTube videos. Actually,
I'm having a feud with my neighbor at the moment.
Yes.
I too have had that. We can all, if apartment living, right? It's unrealistic expectations.
We actually go to the gym with the guy, so we're actually very cool. But it was just like a funny coincidence because he knows I go to bed early, and he doesn't. And once, he just vacuumed when I was like trying to sleep.
God.
He doesn't have a very quiet vacuum, let's just say. So I made I just had fun with it. Like I posted a poll on my Instagram, right? And I was like, so my neighbor last night woke me up with his vacuum. Should I do the same this morning? And it was like 4:30 in the morning, right, when I wake up. And like, turns out everybody's an asshole because like everybody voted yes. I think the poll was like 90% yes. So I was like, well, guess I'm turning on the vacuum.
And then you have plausible deniability. I had to do it. All my fans said I had to do it. This is for content, man.
It's fine. And funny enough, actually, the neighbor didn't hear it. Like I talked with him at the gym. I was like, hey, did you hear something this morning? I was like, nah, nothing. I was like, oh, interesting.
Dang it. Going back to the question Chris asked around what is it that you love about D&D, it's that ability to kind of escape that I'm hearing. And just kind of tap into something that we don't really get to do in the
So there's definitely that, like, for sure, because like you get to be characters that you can be in real life, right? You get to be like this epic hero that can do so many things, which in real life you just never could. So that's a very cool aspect of it. And I think like a very big aspect, at least for me, is like the whole social aspect, because I love playing in person because we're hanging out with friends, right? And it's like this collective story. That's the basis of D&D. You know, you have laughs and cries, and it's like this very real story that it's like a movie, but everybody's living through it, and it's. I think that's what makes D&D amazing, is just this ability to like gather people together and make them live this collective experience, which like you all you remember it. That I don't want to swear on this podcast, but you remember that stuff like 5 years later.
Yeah,
we can swear if you want. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to swear, you don't have to.
Okay, then I will probably a little bit. Try not to do it too much.
in any language you want, it's all good. The explicit sticker is universal.
Yeah, we haven't had any French swearing yet, so if you want to go hard into the French swear, we could totally do that.
I'll give you a common one in French, enculé, which is actually very specific. It means like someone who gets fucked in the ass. Like it's like a name.
Okay.
Enculé. Yeah.
The only one I know is merde. That's the only one I know.
Yeah, that's shit, basically, right?
Yeah.
I'm in Quebec and Canada. They always like use the religious ones, like tabarnak and that kind of thing. So
I've heard that one. I find it very funny because, like, for me, it's just like a church equipment, and
a tabernacle. Yeah,
it's just like I would go like phone or pen or why is it?
It's
an insult. I don't understand.
It's up there with sacred blue. You know, sacre bleu. You know, it's like
sacre bleu,
sacred blue of the flag. Yeah, it's like
I feel like it's like this to foreigners.
Yes,
because they don't understand the language. Which is like I definitely felt that when I came to Romania, for example, because Romanian is not like the language I grew up with. I learned it and I speak it now just fine. But when I say an insult in Romanian, for example, I don't feel it as much as if I would say an insult in French. And I think it's because I didn't like grow up with the taboo of the word, so I don't integrate it as much, right?
Right.
So there's like words that I would just like, I'm not going to say them because they're like really bad word in Romanian.
Okay.
They have like expression like I'm going to go and have sex with your grandmother's grave. Like it's
wow.
lovely stuff. Oh yeah, they're flavorful in Romania. Well, I would say these things and I don't, like now I kind of do, but like I wouldn't get like the, like, oh, why is it so bad to say something like this, right? And I would just like say it in front of other Romanian people and you would see like the reaction, they're like noticeably bothered, right? And I'm just not, because I don't get why it's so bothersome to them. When you grew up with the taboo and when you didn't, and that's like where the difference lies.
I have a couple friends that, it wasn't Romania. It was a country over there that starts with an L.
Lithuania?
I think so. A couple friends that were from there, and they used to explain to me how just the swearing over there was a different level because their modern history was so much more intense. What they had been through.
I mean, Europe is pretty like everybody in Europe was a slave basically until like 1700, something like that. Like Romania, especially. Like Romanians' history is like amazing because they lost every war. Especially their history, right? So it's like, oh, the Hungarian were like their masters at some point, and then you had the Russians at some point, and then it's just like it's
well, and even right now you guys are you're so much closer to what's going on in the world right now with Ukraine, and it's crazy. Like I know you even posted just about something to do with a Ukrainian family just yesterday or this morning.
I'll give some context on that for some if people are interested. So Romania shares a border with Ukraine. We have basically you've got Romania here, Ukraine is here, and you've got like Moldova, which is like a very small country in between. Moldova basically has no military power. So if somebody were to come to Moldova, they would probably conquer it. So like, and we share like a bit of it is like directly linked to Ukraine. So at the beginning, when the war started with Ukraine, we're like, okay, that's going to come to Romania. But we had hope because we're in NATO, so maybe not. Like it was like, at the beginning it was very chaotic. We really had no idea. So it turns out Romania is going to be fine. So that's good, at least for Romanian people. But we had a lot of Ukrainians go through the border. So the Romanian government didn't do much for them. Like they help organize a bit like the transport system to help the refugees like get to other countries, for example. But Romanian people though are, I bless them. They are like, they set up like food camps. They set up like whole support systems to like help the refugees, like gather everybody. It was like an incredible movement from like everybody. I have like a lot of friends that I know that went to the border just like to set up like food camps, help in the hospitals there. And so it was like truly amazing. Like really people came together. So basically I have a very good friend and their family hosted like an Ukrainian family that passed through the border. And their car not crashed, but
broke
down. I think like I'm not very good with cars.
The alternator's out.
It
whatever,
stopped.
Something overheated. I don't know exactly what. But basically the car was like fried, and so it was like two parents, their two daughters, and they needed a place to crash because otherwise they would sleep in the car. And here in Romania, it's like -3 degrees in Fahrenheit. I have no idea how many it is, but it's Celsius.
Right, Celsius. I get that.
Okay.
Only Frank
It's
will need
freezing.
translation.
Oh,
Yeah.
please. I lived in Canada for 10 years. I'm fine.
So
But
so
I get it.
it's freezing temperatures, right? It's like
Right.
below freezing temperatures. And and it's like this like 4 and 7 year old daughter.
Oh.
And so it's like very young child and their parents. And like it's like a crazy story because both the parents are deaf. So they don't hear anything.
Wow.
They speak sign language, and they have like the mother had an auditory apparatus, so she could like understand word, but she only spoke Ukrainian. So like the reason they managed to get out of the country, because normally like men are not allowed to leave Ukraine at the moment. Like there's a martial law basically that's in place. So like any man from like age to 18 to 60, I believe, has to stay and fight. Like they're not allowed to leave. They have to stay behind. So that's why like it's mostly women and children that you see cross the border, because the men stay behind and fight, even if they don't want to, they have to. So this father, in his unluckiness of being deaf, had at least the luck of being able to cross the border because he's not military fit, right? So he can't like fight. So he managed to cross with his family and make it through the border. Their car fries. So this is a family that left everything behind. They have nothing left. So like the reason they left is because basically their house were getting bombed. They were not hearing that, right? The kids were like 4 and 7-year-old daughters, and they were terrified of it. They had no idea what was going on. So they had to leave, right? And they couldn't stay behind. So they just like abandoned everything, their job, their house, like their apartment, which I believe they bought, like everything. They're just restarting from zero. And they're trying to make it to Germany because in Germany they have like, they said they were going to help the refugees as much as they can, provide housing and all that stuff. Their car crashes in the city of my friend's house. So they hear about this and they're like, yeah, sure, come to our place, no problem. So they host them. I actually went and met the family, and they were very, very sweet, very nice. We talked with like Google Translate. God bless technology, because that could
amazing,
not have been.
Wow.
Like it was impossible to talk otherwise. And so like we met. I wanted to introduce them to D&D actually, funnily enough, but they were a bit young, they didn't understand. So it was tough to like to explain.
Of course.
Like a game about storytelling where you can't talk is a bit tough, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain D&D when you speak the language to people, right? Like
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, but I did get them like, because they left and they didn't have much toys with them. They had like a little thing. But I bought them like a couple of Barbies, and I brought that to the kids, and they were, I think they were happy with them. They definitely smiled, and I saw them playing with it, so I assume they liked it. We took them to the park. I bought them like Barba Papa. It's like like this pink fluffy thing. It's like sugar, and they just
Cotton
like,
candy.
Oh,
cotton candy. Yeah, that's one.
Yeah.
And it was so cute. Like it was like bigger than their head.
Yeah.
So they were just like adorable, like just holding a little thing, right? And so like it really felt nice because we're like truly helping these people, right? And so like we helped them. We got their car set back on and put them back on their way. And now they're in Germany. They found a house and they're doing well. They sent us a picture with the kids. Everybody's doing fine, and we're very happy. And so the message that I posted on Instagram was because this family, like the mother, her sister crossed the border with her son, who was 10 years old. The father stayed behind, from what I understood, couldn't leave the country. And they basically were in Germany in a camp. And I'm not sure about this, so don't quote me on this. But from what I understood, the refugee camps are basically like military camps, right? Like, so it's like tents. They have like maybe a little mattress to sleep on, but it's not like exactly ideal conditions to raise a child, maybe. And, for a mother and her child, I don't think it's the best. And so she told her sister about it, and she let us know. And so I was like, well, I have like a bit of a following on Instagram, maybe I can try to find someone who would agree to help, right? And we did. So now like this family set up, they've got a home that took them in and everything. So it's amazing. I couldn't be happier about it for them. Yeah. So it's like we definitely like feel the war a bit more, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, over here in North America, we don't deal with actually having, well, we choose not to, I should say. We choose not to deal with that as much on our day to day, helping strangers. The times I've been to Europe, the number of times people have welcomed me into their homes and just been like, hey, you're a tourist, like you're by yourself. Would you like a meal? And you don't feel this sense of, oh my gosh, they could try to drug me. Like there isn't that's the kind of fear that we might have over here. But over there was just, hey, that's so kind. There's much more of that in the European culture.
Perhaps, yeah. That like I went to America briefly for like a week, so I'm not that familiar with American culture. I'm very familiar with like Eastern European culture and and I would say like Central European friends, but yeah, in American I'm not that familiar with.
Well, I think it's interesting that you were able to use your spread, right? Like you have a fairly sizable Instagram, right? And it is fairly international. And like, how cool is it that just because you have this nerdy passion that was able to build into a business and really build up to a significant following, that you were able to use that not just for making money and not for that, but also to do good and spread good stuff into the world. And that's just a really cool thing about technology, and it's a really thing about the world we live in right now. The fact that we can actually make a difference in some way, even though it's maybe small or maybe have a little bit of impact, I think that is a really cool thing that the internet has brought, is that these senses of community that you get to create become meaningful and have impact outside of just the niche that you're in.
Yeah, for sure. Like I definitely felt it that day when because I had like multiple people text me like, hey, maybe I can try to help and stuff. And thank you to everyone that came forward, by the way, if you listen to this. And like one person was just like, yeah, I can go pick him up. It's all right. I got like my wife and my 2 kids, and we can host them as well. And I was like, dude, that would be amazing. Like,
wow,
it would be fantastic, right?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that story. I mean, it's so heartwarming, and especially
it really, it's like it's in all the craziness of the world where you feel like everything's going like to trash, but no, people are actually good most of the time, I think, and it's really showcases that, I think.
Yeah, I really think that is like, I mean, so many people, I don't know, I used to work in sales, and so you always dealt with the public, and when you're in front of people over and over and over again, and they have no reason to help you or no reason to do that, but they still do, you start to realize that so many people out there are just good people, and the vast majority of people are, and there really are just a few assholes in the world, and they move around a lot, like you run into them, but it's just like there are not that many people that are like
the
that.
vocal minority, like usually, like it's just like on Reddit or any social platform for that matter, is like it's just like it's like people who hate who are the loudest for some reason. I don't know.
True.
They've got something to prove, I guess. I'm not sure, but I agree. I think most people are extremely good, and I think this was like a truly good example of that. Like most people were like, hey, like I even got people who were like, yeah, dude, like. That's why I posted the story that we found them a home, because I got like messages from people that were like, "Hey, did you manage to find them a home? Like, are they okay? Like, I want to know, Like, I really think most people are good. I really, really do.
Yeah.
And that was at least a very good example of that, I would say.
Yeah.
I think this is a great way to transition into more of your business side of what you do, because we haven't even really touched on that. I love the discussion we're having, but I want to ask you, like, when did the start of, say, you making this into an Instagram and turning this into a business and started posting content, how did that transition really happen from you just playing Dungeons and Dragons with your friends?
So I'll give you the story on this one. So I was a medical student, so I studied medicine. I finished my I don't know if you can see, like I still have my medical books right here.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they're pretty big. So I did med school for like 6 years here in Romania.
Wow.
So I need to put some context on that. I'll do as the story progresses, I guess. Finished med school. I was still like playing D&D with my friend every now and then, and then the pandemic hits. As I finished my 6th year, pandemic hits. So my goal was I finish med school in Romania, and then I go to Germany. Why? Romania, the salary back then of a doctor, now it increased a bit, was about 900 euros, which is like maybe $1,000. It's not a lot. It's good for Romania, but it's not a lot of money. Keep in mind, Romania, like the minimum wage, I believe, is $400 or $450. It's very small. So I was like, okay, so I'll do it in Germany, because Residentiat, like residency, in Germany is closer to like 3,000 euros, right? So like $3,200, something along those lines. So like I'll do it there. And the advantage of Germany is usually at the end of med school, you have a big exam, residency exam, where basically according to your placement, you get to choose which specialty you take and in which city of the country, right? So I was a fairly ambitious kid, so my aim was cardio, right? And I realized cardio in Romania, I don't know if that's going to be possible, because it's really, really tough competition. I didn't know if I was prepared enough, right? So I was like, I'll try it in Germany, because Germany works different. Germany doesn't have an exam. Germany takes you on a case-by-case basis. It's just like a job application, right? You just need to prove that you speak German well enough. And by that time, I had like a year and something of like intense German lessons, so my German was pretty good. So I applied. I sent, I don't know, 50, 100 mails, maybe more, to get a residency. No reply. Or only negative replies, basically, right? That was as the pandemic hit, and I learned they were not accepting like because at the beginning of the pandemic, nobody knew what was going on, so I don't think they were ready to take on the responsibility of like a foreign student. But to be fair, maybe my file was just not good enough. Like who knows? But it all came back negative, basically, right? So I was like, fuck. I was like, I did 6 years of med school, and I'm not gonna do anything with my life. That is not good. So that kept me up at night. I slept. I couldn't manage to like sleep 3 hours a night. I was just like the panic, the sheer panic of having wasted my life was bad.
I don't know if anyone can relate to that.
Yeah. Like the pandemic.
So we do that. So I'm like, fuck, like it's over. You know, like I fucking wasted education. I'm not gonna do anything about
Oh man.
You know, and I was like, okay, calm down, Evan. Like you'll find something. And at the time, I was frequenting quite a bit Reddit, and I was usually a lot on like Unearthed Arcana, which is Reddit for homebrew content.
Right? Yes.
And there I saw like a couple of dudes. I saw Kibbles Tasty, and I saw Spectre Creation, the arena guy, his name is. And they were making like $1,000 a month. And I think in the case of Kibble, it was like $2,000. And I was like, that's good money, man. I was like especially for me in Romania, I was like, oh dude, that's pretty decent. Like maybe I could like, you know, like make maybe 100 or 2, and that would be like a nice supplemental income in case of something, right? So I started doing that. Well, first month I didn't make any money, so that was that. But you know, like at some point I started it also because I enjoyed it and it distracted me from my thoughts. So I was just like, you know, I'll do that, and then in the meantime I'll prepare for the Romanian exam for medicine. So I got myself busy, basically. I was studying medicine and I was producing homebrew content in the hopes of maybe monetizing it. I set up the Patreon and everything, blah, blah, blah. And then like second month rolls around and I'm like $20, I think, or something. So not very much money, let's just say. But I remember like, it's so funny how things change, because now I make $20. I'm like, oh, that's nice, you know, but like back then I was just like so ecstatic. I remember it's like going to my friends like, look, man, like I got a subscriber, like somebody agreed to pay me $1 a month. That's insane.
It's also from your passion, right? It's like, wow, I could actually make money doing this thing I like doing.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
cool.
Like that, like the first dollar, it's like the proof, right? It's like people are actually willing to pay money for this.
People want this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, man, I got something there, you know? And I remember like telling my dad about it, and he was like, son, what are you doing? And you're like, something like what's
Yeah, parents aren't always on board with our initial plans to make money.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't blame them, because like when they made like $20 in a month, they're like, you know, maybe consider other options. Just saying, you didn't.
Yeah,
maybe
Keep going on the medicine path, son.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, I'm going to not be a doctor. I am going to go do D&D content. That would have been a difficult conversation.
But like, it was never my goal to be like full-time D&D content. Like at first, it was always like side income, and like I'll do medicine, right? That was the idea, because medicine is a lot more reliable than D&D, or should be. And so I was like, okay, well, $20. I'm happy with that. Nice. Like I'm pumped about it. Then next month rolls around, and I think I go to like $80 or something. So like quadruple my income. And I'm like, oh God, you know, it's good money, man. So I was really, really thrilled, because like basically till then what I had been doing was just like giving people free shit and having that same stuff on my Patreon, and with like a little bit of like additional extra content, like exclusives that people would pay for. But that was like the main idea. But all of this was like working towards like a compendium where I would like amalgamate everything together and shove it to the people. And so I did that. And so I like, you know, get my content together, and I released my first compendium, the Northern Light compendium. And it worked. It bloody worked. I remember I was in a field. It was like a Slovak village, basically, right? It was like a whole event. It was like really nice in nature, whatever. I was like glued to my phone because Patreon, every time you get like a new subscriber, sends you a mail if you have the option set up. Right now I have it removed, but back then I had it set up. And I was just like getting mail after mail after mail of like, oh, you got a new subscriber, you got a new subscriber, you got a new subscriber. And basically I went from like $80 to like 800, I think.
So hold on. This is a critical mass moment.
Yeah, it blew up.
Yeah, you put together a compendium, which, and looking at your Patreon, it looks like these compendiums are everything that you had created for that month.
So back then it was like 3 months of work, like the first one.
Okay, gotcha.
Even now I have like 2 different compendiums types. I have ones that I make in 1 month, which are called compendiums. And I have ones we take usually like 2 months, 2 months and a half to make, which are called tomes, which are like larger books for like the adept tier, right? Like the highest tier I have on my
So it sounds like people were drawn to the convenience that you offered with this, because at first people were getting the content that you were making and they appreciated it, but it would be all over the internet, all over your Patreon. But then you started to compile it into these compendiums, and it sounds like, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, it sounds like people loved that convenience and that ease of access. What do you think that was part of it, or is there something else that you think really created that skyrocket?
I think there's more to it. I'll tell you what I think happened. So I can tell you I think there's more to it. Why? Because now, so to be fair, now there's more people doing it, so the market is more saturated, so it's harder to stand out, of course. But there's people doing compendiums, right? But it doesn't work that well. Why? So me, I'm a big believer in the thank you economy. I don't know if you ever heard this concept, Gary Vee.
Can you elaborate?
Okay. So the idea is like you just like flood people with free stuff for a long time. And then they're like, oh my God, this is so much free stuff. Like, how can I repay you for all this stuff you've given me, right? And that's the moment where you're like, boom, I sell you something. And I think the compendium was that, because like back until then, I basically like, I just had like a little link at the bottom of my Reddit post for like, hey, I have a Patreon, by the way. But it was not a hard sell, right? At all.
Right.
But then the compendium came around and then it was like, boom, hard sell, right? I just like, I gave you all this free stuff for like a very, very long time. Hopefully by now you're thankful. If you're not, that's fine as well. I'll keep doing free stuff anyway. And it was like, there you go. Here's like a thing that you can actually give me money for if you want to thank me for all the free stuff that you've been enjoying so far. That's like paraphrasing, right? Like it's also convenient for people and it's like a good, and basically that worked. And that was like, boom, 700, right?
Interesting.
That makes a lot of sense from the standpoint of what, from coming from my area of expertise, which is sales. And one of the big sales triggers that works, I mean, this is written in, Robert Cialdini's book, Influence. The first chapter, I believe, is called reciprocation. It's like an inevitable thing that if you give something away to people for free for a while, they do start to feel an obligation to find a way to pay it back in some way, whether that be in dollars or giving you other free stuff or support or service or following or whatever it is. So I think that's so interesting because a lot of people don't think that way when they're starting a business. The idea of like doing this for free. That's why I always say, if you're going to start a business, you should be doing a business that you would do for free. Because if you aren't willing to do it for free for a while, or if you're not willing to give away what you're doing for free and just do it for the process, you're probably not going to get to that tipping point that you're talking about where you've created enough goodwill where people want to come in and support you.
I would say yes and no. Because I'm a proponent of doing free work to like get your bearings together, give people give them a solid reason to trust you, because it's like, oh, okay, I've seen here free stuff is good, probably paid stuff is good as well, right? But I also don't like working for free, and not as in like, I have people who've worked for me, just like, freelance, like a stuff here and there. And a lot of times it's been fans, right? Like, I'm saying fans, I don't know if they're fans, but they at least follow me on Instagram. Let's just say that. And they're like, yeah, man, I can do this for you, no problem. Like I can do this for you. I'll do it, no charge. Like at some point I was looking for a video editor. And right now I'm editing my videos myself. I came back to myself because I freed myself more time for it. But back then I was like, could use a video editor. So I posted a story and like a lot of people came forward. And I took like 3 or 4. And I was like, okay, like here's the video, you can edit it. And they had like 3 different videos, right? So like I would have like 3 different edits and I would like pick the best one. And they're like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And they finished like editing the video, and I was like, okay, how much do I owe you? And they're like, no, don't worry, man. I understand. Like, if you want to it for free. Like they finished the work before I like even paid them, and I was like, dude, I'm not letting you like edit a full freaking video, and not pay you.
Right.
So on some level, like, yes, do stuff for free because like, it gets exposure. And I mean, I hate the term exposure because like artists who are listening to this are gonna like rip off their hair because like, oh yeah, get paid in exposure. But I don't know. I don't like not paying people for working. Let's just say that.
Of course.
I agree with that. Yeah. There is a tendency for artists to undervalue their work too, because they're willing to do it for free.
100%. Don't like if you ever open a Patreon, do not have a $1 tier. Just letting you know, your work, you've put work in it. Your work is not worth $1. It's worth more than that. Do not have a $1 tier. And think of it mathematically. If your lowest tier is like $3, like mine, for example, it's already 3 times the value. And like the difficulty of entry between $1 and $3 is the same for people. So don't have a $1 tier. Just don't do it, okay?
If they're willing to pay $1, they're probably fine with 3.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the thing. Even my $3 tier, I'm like considering removing it because now I have so much content on my Patreon. It doesn't make sense to have it. For $3, you just get like so much more value. But it's now I have like
hindsight.
Hindsight, exactly. Thank you. To like see this and be like, yeah, okay, it's not worth $3. But back then, even for me, because I had a $1 tier at some point, and then I had like other friends who were doing Patreon who were like, yeah, dude, remove that thing. It's hurting you in the long term. And I was like, they're making more money than me, so probably they know a thing I don't. I'll listen to them. But yeah, don't have a $1 tier. Just don't do it.
That's really good advice, actually. That's something that, where we are right now in this project, this Nerdpreneur podcast, that's advice that we probably needed to hear.
Yeah, no, like just think about it. Like you really think like something you worked maybe hours on is worth $1, really? Like probably not.
I want to talk. I have so many questions along the lines of that story and building it. You're talking about the day where you all of a sudden went from like 0 to say 800, and that was an important day, right?
Yeah.
Now you still had a day job, right, or a thing that you were doing for money regularly. No,
that's why I was terrified.
You didn't,
because I was a med student. I had nothing, right, and that's why I couldn't sleep at night. That's why I was like studying or working and doing nothing else because my thoughts wouldn't allow me. So it was like this very, very stressful time because I was like, I don't have a job. Beside medicine, I don't know how to do jack shit, and I was like, I need to do something in my life, man. And when I had that 700 like that just like popped up over a month, I was just, like the relief I felt because I was like, oh my god, I have a salary, I can pay rent, I can pay food, I can pay everything now. It's fine.
And this was around lockdown time too, right? So you're not really allowed to leave. There's that added stress.
No, I was very lucky because I don't have family in Romania. My family is in France. I couldn't go back to France because lockdown. So I was not allowed to leave.
France
the country.
was very closed off. Yeah,
and on top of that, I even if I wanted to, I probably shouldn't have because as it was like this whole like shit storm that just like kind of came my way. It was like, so medicine like didn't work out. Like I couldn't find a job. I got an appendicitis as the pandemic hit, as they were putting the restriction measures.
Oh my gosh!
So I was gonna have to go back at like an empty apartment alone after a surgery where I could like barely walk. I was like so messed up, but like luckily for me, like a friend took me in their house with their family, and that's the family actually that also helped the Ukrainian family. They're like the tremendously good people. Like they are
angels.
They are some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. They are amazing. Yeah,
there's those people in life that are just, you look back and it's like, wow, these people really were the grace of the universe coming to you. Time, and that's so great, and that they were like that.
I was blown away. I still am to this day, especially when I saw what they did with the refugees and they're helping, and they don't have a lot of money saved up. And I offered to help them because they had a car accident, and nobody was injured, just the car.
Right.
And I was like, if you want, I can pay for the reparation of the car or something. And they're like, no, we're fine. Don't worry about it. Like, go do your thing. It's all right. And I'm like, dude, like,
You're just looking for that chance to,
yeah, and they're just not giving it to me, man.
Interesting. Those are some good lessons I find. I mean, it's those moments. It was a learning moment for me to realize, you know what? This is the universe saying, money is not the way to pay it back. The way to pay it back to people like this are to actually give like your love and your attention and your time and your energy and quality time with these people is, and that's really hard for some people to wrap their heads around. It was hard for me to wrap my head around that. I want to pay it back and they don't seem to want money. What do they want? What are they giving me? Oh, what they're giving me is their idea of love and kindness. They probably want that in return.
The grace of some humans, like, it really makes a difference in people's lives, right? I remember being in my business the first year running it ever and being so broke and like 3 months behind rent in my home rent. And then I had an office I was paying for that I had basically struggled to pay every single month, bouncing a check and then finding money 24 hours later to pay it back and like finding ways to do that. And I was doing that for like 6 months. And finally, I just had reached the edge of my rope in March, similar, like, this month actually, but many years ago. And I had no money left except for the cash I had on me. And I remember the landlord having to call him and just being like, oh, can we meet? And I sat down with him and he said, well, you're a good tenant. I like that you're young, you're hustling, you're trying to get everything done. What's it going to take to get you through this rough patch? And I said, I don't know. What can you give? I didn't give him an answer. It's important when you're in sales, just like ask them to give the first offer. Because I expected him maybe to let me slide this month a little bit. But he actually was like, well, you got like 6 months left in your lease. What if I knock your rent down from $1,400 a month to $800 a month for the next 6 months?
How much are you paying in rent?
Yeah, don't get us started on rent, man. Don't get us started on that.
This was my landlord for my commercial business, right? So this was a business rent. So this is and I was like 22 at the time too. I really didn't know a thing about what I was getting into or what I was doing, and I was making a lot of mistakes.
I've never heard this.
So but he said to me, I'll never forget him. His name was Aldo De Felice, and he was like a saint in that moment to me, because he not only knocked down my rent for $600 less, he did it for 6 months just to kind of let me get through this rough patch. And I'll tell you, like 2 months later, I turned the whole thing around. We went out and our sales organization had our best sales month in May, and it's a seasonal business. And then I went from there and I wound up working in that company as a successful like franchise owner essentially for the next 10 years. And if that guy had not given me that little moment of grace and that little bit of a chance,
that break
in that moment, I wouldn't have been the person I am today. I wouldn't have gone in that path, and so much of my life would have been different.
I relate 100% because it was exactly my experience with these people. Like they gave me a roof, they gave me food, and I could like focus 100% on medicine and the business, and that ended up working out amazingly. If they weren't there, I don't know if I could have made it. Who knows? But I did, and mostly thanks to them. So definitely I owe them on this one.
Yeah. So Chris and I this is not our full-time job. As I understand it is for you, which is congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That is so cool that you get to do this for your full-time job.
To be fair, it's easier to do in Romania because like the average money that you need for a living is a lot lower than in the US. So at $500 a month, it's enough to make a living and like a pretty decent one.
But you're above that too. So
I'm
right.
I passed that. Yeah.
So, I was gonna say. I mean, $500 a month. We're that's our first milestone we got to get to, and then
Fair enough.
But
I mean,
you're definitely come a long way since then, I guess. So
just what's on your Patreon, like, I mean, because that's pretty transparent.
I don't get all of it. I wish I did.
What is the cut?
There's expenses and there's taxes.
Of course. What is the cut that Patreon takes?
So basically, like they have 3 tiers, right? As they say, they have like first tier where they just basically like let you use the platform to collect money, and that's it. So I don't think you can like customize the kind of posts that you do. Like you have very, very limited options, basically, right? And that's so they say they take 5%, but there's actually more. I can detail more on my tier because that's the one I know best, of course. Then there's the tier I'm on, which they say is 8%, which allows you to make custom posts. You get access to your analytics and all of that. That's 8%. And then they have like another tier where they say it's 12%. And what it allows you to do is if you have associates and other people working with you on the Patreon, that allows you to basically connect multiple people to handle the account. I'm assuming so not everybody has access to the finances. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not interested in it since I work mainly alone. So
solopreneur, yeah.
Yeah. It started like this. Now I have people helping me on various stuff, but not on the Patreon, let's say. And so on that 8% tier, they take another, I believe like 6 or 7% are just like payment processing fees. And plus me, I get also screwed over because I'm in Romania and I work in the US, and PayPal is like, oh, that's 2 different countries and your currency isn't the US dollar in Romania, right? So they're like, if you want to access your money, you're going to pay a nice conversion rate. And it's not like the, like the market conversion rate. It's like the one that PayPal decides it is. So
PayPal is not great for anyone.
No. So for that reason, I switched to Payoneer. But even them, like if I want to withdraw any money, it's like a 2% commission. So like there's like, like it's like little percentages here and there. And
everyone takes a piece, right?
Everybody, exactly. Everybody takes a piece. And then there's like, I have a website as well, which I need to maintain. There's like people that help me, which I pay. So I don't like all of that money isn't mine.
Of course.
But I definitely make certainly more than enough to live comfortably. I cannot deny that.
But that's really good to know for anyone who is wanting to reach the level that you're at, and that there are these costs associated with, especially in a different country. PayPal, it's true. PayPal is optimized for Americans, and it has some wiggle room for certain countries, but there's
got a little bit better for Canada recently. We I work for Americans and I'm a Canadian, and so they used to pay me through PayPal, but it was costing me like $200 to $300-$400 of my paycheck a month or something. It was like it was a big conversion. Relative to my paycheck, it was like all right, but the actual like process of like, well, that adds up, like over a whole year, you got $2,400 or so that could be invested or it could be saved or could be done something with. And anyway, they changed to now theirs. Yeah, exactly. Right. And all they're doing is sending me money that I already own. Right. Like that's what's so crazy about the business. It's my money,
That's I feel you on that one. Cause like every time I take from Payoneer, I'm like, so you're just telling me that I have to pay money to access my money. Exactly. Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
It sounds like the biggest scam ever. Jeez, how do I get in that business? Man.
But you start your own online banking platform.
That's not hard to do.
I feel like I may not have the competence to do that.
I feel like other banks are like gangsters too. They'll just come around and be like, no, we're not letting that happen.
Hey, give us your money. Come on.
The banks are also an issue. Like, if we're on the topic of bank, why not? When I opened my firm in Romania, because that's where I live, my nationality is French, right? But I live in Romania. I've been living here for like the past 8 years. It's basically my home now. Like I have all my friends here. Like I'm just so used to being here. And I wanted to open a business account, right? Because I'm like, I'm making a bit of money. I probably should open a business and make that thing legal so I don't go to jail or something. So I go to like a notar, like a
notary. It's a notary.
Yeah. So he helps me open the firm and everything. And then I need a business account, right? A bank account for the business. I'm like, okay, I'll go to like the main bank of Romania, which is Banca Transilvania. And I'm like, so I just show up. And I'm like, hey, because that was my bank at the time, because that's when I first arrived to Romania. That was like the bank I used, right? For like a personal account. I go and I'm like, hey, I'd like to open a business. And they're like, well, if you want to open a business, you need to be Romanian. I'm like, well, that's an issue because I'm not, like, my nationality says I'm not Romanian. Like, I have a residency permit, but I'm not nationality. I'm not Romanian. They're like, well, you can't open an account. They're like, you'll need a Romanian associate then. And I'm like, well, that's also an issue because I work alone. So it's like,
that sounds so funny. Like, you need a Romanian associate.
So basically, like they put like all of those like barriers in the way, and then so I went to another bank which is called ING, and I was like, hey, I'd like to open a business account, and he's like, what's your name? And I'm like, this, and I just explained like the whole situation that I just went through, and it's like, yeah, it's no worries, man, just come back in an hour, I'll do the papers. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm with this bank now. So
whoa.
So yeah, for people.
Was it that simple? Really? Just
Yeah,
like
the
this
dude, like
other
I
bank
sat
was
in
like,
front of
yeah.
the dude. He like filled out some paperwork, and like 30 minutes later, I was out and I had a business.
Wow.
So very few people change their bank account in their lifetime, though. Like that's
Yeah.
what's so interesting. Like I read a stat about how basically if you set an account when you're a kid, 90 or 80% of people never switch banks. And banks is one of those weird businesses where there's not a lot of like conscious competition. People just kind of surrender to the fact that they have their money somewhere and they stick with it forever until there is such a huge issue like, oh, I'm starting a business or this, and they start to get into actually using bank services. And then that's where they can lose people like that. But
that's like the main like if you want to run a business, like any business, usually customer acquisition is the most expensive part compared to customer maintenance. Because if you have like a decent product, and I mean like this for any business, be it D&D, be it like shirts, be it whatever you want to sell, if people buy from you and they trust you enough to buy from you, and you give them something that they like, that they enjoy, and of decent quality, the chances that they come back to you because they had a good experience with you is very high. So like the cost to maintain them as a customer is fairly low. Right. Whereas like the cost to like get someone to trust you enough that they're like, you know what? Sure, I'll give you some of my hard-earned money is a lot higher. And that's why like banks and like many other companies like spend so much money, and they give you like, you know, like even banks, they're like, make an account with us and we'll give you like $200-300 for free, right? They're like, you know, like make a new account. Like PayPal does that as well. They're like, yeah, you get like a $50 bonus if you make an account with us or something. Because customer acquisition is just that valuable, because they know that on the long run, they'll make 20 times, 30 times, 100 times what they invested in the beginning.
Do you mind if we talk a little bit about client acquisition? What were your methods of, say, initial client acquisition when you were going in that stage from like, okay, $20 a month to 800, and then now much more than that?
Yeah. So it's like multiple channels, but we'll go through each of them. So basically my first channel was Reddit, because that's where I discovered that Reddit homebrew content existed. So I was like, you know what? If it worked for other people, probably will work for me. I don't know. I posted on Reddit. Reddit posted a lot. And that ended up working out, like I said, 800, right? Which was, I don't have the exact numbers, but I think that was like 200 patrons, basically. 250 maybe.
And how long did it take to get to that?
4 months.
I mean, that's a good. And were you posting like daily on Reddit, or was it you just kind of posted here and there?
Yeah, I tried to post daily, except on Sundays. That was the plan. As often as I could, basically, because Unearthed Arcana has rules. You can't post more than once per 24 hours. You cannot post the same type of content more than once a week. Now it's once every 4 days. They switched it. But I understand why they do it. And the moderation team, I'll give them that, to Unearthed Arcana, is very impartial and very sharp, because it's like same treatment for everybody, whether you're big or small. Make sure you credit the artist. Make sure you don't post, you don't spam, you don't flood the thing. And yeah, and they're just like very, very fair. And I've been banned from Unearthed Arcana because sometimes I failed to credit the art properly, and that's my mistake. And it was always my mistake. They were never wrong. So, you know, and they're really taking good care of the sub. And I think that's why it's growing so well, because it's like almost 300,000 people on it now. And people underestimate Reddit. So don't do ads on Reddit, because that does not work, right? I've never done them, but I've read the stats. I've know people who tried, always failed. Do organic content, give people free stuff. They like that. Reddit doesn't like ads, but they do like free stuff. So just give them what they want. And I mean, everybody likes free stuff, to be fair. But you know, so Reddit was the main one. And then before that, so when I was in med school, I tried to start another business. I was managing Instagram accounts for other people and making them grow. And I had one account in particular, which was for myself, this one, which I grew from like 0 to 12K in 3 months and a half, I believe. So that was like a pretty stellar growth, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I know how to grow on Instagram. Let me do that for, you know, D&D as well. Because I saw the Griffin Saddlebag, who makes... he's got like a ridiculous amount of patrons and a ridiculous amount of money with it. He had like 80K, 70K on Instagram. And I was like, you know, he's successful, more successful than I am. And he's doing that. So maybe I should, you know, get on the train as well. So like, that's a lot of how my business worked, is like, I just looked at what other successful people were doing and I was just trying to copy it.
So the things that you copied, I just wanted to narrow down what it is that you that you decided to do, and why?
Other successful people in the niche, I looked at what they were doing, because if we're all playing D&D, we're all doing the same stuff. I'm like, okay, what are you doing differently than I am that I could maybe learn from, right? So that's what I did for most of it, right? So Griff from the Griffin Saddlebag, he was like, Instagram. He's got a big Instagram. I was like, okay, I could try that. So I got to my Instagram, and that grew a lot slower than the previous niche, but that makes sense. It's D&D, it's smaller community, right? Even though now I'm at 50K, so like my Instagram grew quite well. Now I've been posting a bit less often. I need to get back on it. I used to post twice a day, every day. Now I'm more like 5 posts a week about. So
if we could center on just say Instagram, because you clearly have learned some lessons there. What are some of those lessons for people wanting to say grow their Instagram following to have more in their niche? Are there principles that you follow?
Sure. Yeah, I can give you some. So at the beginning, when you're small on Instagram, nobody's going to give a crap about you. You're a small person. You're just like them. Why should they follow you? So how do you get people to follow you? Go on other people's accounts and comment on their picture. And you do that like 100 times a day. So you go to 100 accounts, comment 100 times. That's what I did in the beginning. Till you get to like about 1,000. Make sure to post every day, of course. Make sure to hashtag properly. And you do that 100 times a day. It's time consuming. It's fucking, sometimes you would rather be doing something else. But you know, you're on the toilet taking a dump and it's taking a while. So you just pull out your phone and follow like 25 people. So you do that for a bit, right? So then you grow to about 1,000 people, right? I would say like 1,000 is about where people start to like, okay, maybe I should, maybe I could consider following this person. Now Instagram has this great thing called Instagram Reels, and they're pushing hard for them because Instagram is losing a lot of ground to the competition, which is TikTok, which I hate. We can go on that later. So Instagram is pushing hard because they're losing competition a lot to TikTok. So now everybody's trying to be TikTok. YouTube is doing shorts, Instagram is doing Reels. Do both of them because they're pushing for them hard. And if your content is good, it's going to be promoted to more people. And it's going to appear on their explore page, right? And that's how people discover your Instagram. Just keep doing that, rinse and repeat, 1 to 2 posts a day. And you do that until you grow to a size that you consider healthy. And make sure, very important, to engage with your audience in the comments on your stories. Keep them like, that's, I think, one of the advantages I have maybe over some of my competitors is that I am engaged with my audience. I reply to their comments. I reply to their messages in my story. I post stories with my face on it. People know me, relate to me, and I know them. Like let's say like the people who comment often, I definitely know them. Like not personally, of course, but like patterns emerge and you recognize the people.
Notice. Yeah.
So like basically the closer to like a friendship that you can get, it's a parasocial relationship is basically like the easiest way to get clients because that's how you build goodwill and all that jazz and people want to follow you, right? So that's how I would do it for Instagram. So you do reels, you do posts, you comment on other people's stuff, you reply to your own comments, and the hashtags of course help, but do like at least have your post show on the right thing, and the hashtags do like 5 or 6 about. That's what the meta is at the moment. If you do more than that, apparently like it blocks the algorithm from what I understood, because basically like it tries to categorize you for each hashtag that you put, and if like one of them, for example, is not relevant to what you posted, they're going to be like, oh, this is a wrong hashtag, we should not listen to the rest of the hashtags either, and like your post visibility gets shut down. So like post fewer hashtags with like more relevant niche, let's say.
That's really good to know because I used to do a lot of social media marketing a couple of years ago, and the meta has changed since then. But I remember Facebook started to do hashtags around the time it acquired Instagram, and that's when this time was. And they said that you can post a bunch of hashtags, but that was a trap because the meta was actually 3 hashtags on Facebook was all that it would really account for, and everything else would actually diminish the exposure of your post on Facebook. And now that's pretty much commonly known, and people don't hashtag on Facebook anyway.
No, yeah, people just don't. Anyway, Facebook is just for, as far as I'm concerned, Facebook is just for ads. Like that's that.
It's ads.
If you're not paying, you're not really going to get anything from Facebook. It feels like.
I mean, now they're promoting. Like I need to do it because I'm lazy about it. But it's like it would take me 5 minutes, so I really should do it. Like Instagram and Facebook have like an integration. If you post on Instagram, it automatically posts on Facebook. Facebook is actually pushing videos, just like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Everybody's pushing for video format. So if you post videos, Facebook will actually organically show them. Yeah, I know, organic reach on Facebook. Never heard of it.
Really?
But yeah,
That's
yeah.
like old school.
Yeah, no, they actually show videos organically, and they even pay creators who've got like more than 10,000 followers, right? So on Facebook. So
Interesting.
something to think about. I should probably get on that train.
So then the next of your channels was TikTok, or YouTube.
So I have a TikTok.
Either one.
Yeah, so basically I only posted on Instagram at first, the videos, right? And then I was like, TikTok is an app, because I'm in Romania, so apps take longer to get here usually. So like, for example, TikTok was in the US for like a year before I got here. Like I couldn't even install. I remember like the first time I got interested in it, because I saw like D&D Shorts, like, no, not D&D Shorts, One Shot Questers, I believe his name is. He's like a pretty big creator now on YouTube, and he started off on TikTok. And I saw a couple of his videos pop up on my YouTube feed, and he was like, yeah, go on TikTok, follow me there. And I was like, oh, TikTok. Okay, what's this thing? And I tried to install it on my phone, and I couldn't because I'm in Romania. So I was like, okay, well, guess that's for another day. So TikTok, I did. I post basically like between my Reels, TikTok, and YouTube is like the same videos. I edit them and I just post it. On some level, because I'm lazy. On some level, it's also because I don't want to spend editing like 3 different platforms differently.
Yeah,
let's
right.
be honest. Especially because like the format is basically the same. So yeah. So TikTok, yeah, I have like 10,000, 9,000 on there. I'm not exactly. I don't have the app on my phone anymore because it's extremely time consuming. Like they made their algorithm so well. Like they know how to hook you in the app. It made me feel like shit. Like every time I consumed TikTok afterwards, I just felt like depressed. Basically, like it was just like the videos were not very positive. Let's say I don't consume a lot of social media in general. Like like I am on Instagram a bit because I like D&D stuff, on Reddit also. But like TikTok showed me a lot of non-D&D stuff, let's say, and a lot of it felt very like hateful, not very nice, like whole American politics, which was also very, as a foreigner, let's just say it felt very messy.
Well, it feels that way as a local too.
I can imagine. So like their algorithm, like basically I just like every time I finished scrolling TikTok, which was like an hour later, I just like, okay, I wasted an hour of my life. And what was the result? I feel like shit. Great. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, I read their terms of services of condition, whatever you want to call them. And basically TikTok has access to like all your info, like all of it. Not like Facebook has access to the info that you do when you're on Facebook. Like TikTok has access to everything that's on your phone. So that means like your search history, it means like your numbers, like they know everything about you. And they're by contract obligated to disclose that information to China, right? Like TikTok is Chinese, and since 2018 they have a law, they have to disclose. I was like, I'd rather not sell my information to the Chinese government, whatever. Like I'd rather not sell my information to any government. Let's just put it that way. Wow. So I was like, yeah, I'm deleting that from my phone. Because I was like, I'm feeling bad afterwards. I'm wasting my time on it. And on top of that, I don't know what they're doing with my data, and I probably don't want to know. So I was like, let me just remove it. So now I just post from my laptop, right? Because I'll give them that. Their bloody posting platform is better than the one Instagram has. And Instagram has been down the market for like way longer.
Yeah.
Why? Instagram, fix your stuff, please. Meaning that on TikTok, you can like post your video, you can schedule it.
On the browser.
Have it like go live whenever you want. Reels, you still cannot do that on Instagram.
And their editor is also, I find, easier to navigate. There's so many things that are difficult to do on Instagram Reels that are just super easy to do on TikTok. Just like captions or putting words at the right time or the right place.
So I'll give you a tip if you want.
Sure.
On that little app that can save you a lot of time that I use, that I started using again. I stopped using it at first, but now they fixed it because it works better. So there's this app called rev.com, rev.com, right? I wish I had an affiliate link right about now so I could like promote it to the audience, but whatever. But yeah, it works great. If you're like looking to like add captions to your videos, just do that. It's like $1.50, especially if you're US based. It's not a lot of money for you. So
I was just going to say, we can assume if you do get an affiliate link set up, it'll probably be MonkeyDM. So maybe by the time this airs, you'll get that set up. So make sure you do /MonkeyDM.
You know what? I'm going to send a mail to rev.com just to see.
Do it. Exactly. And then we'll be able to plug it into the episode.
Yeah, that would be great.
And then YouTube was the other one.
Yeah. So YouTube blew up a lot more than I expected, I'll be honest. Because I posted my stuff on Instagram, and Instagram is doing fairly all right. And I was like, okay, I'll just post it on YouTube as well. They're doing YouTube Shorts. Same thing that with TikTok, I didn't have access to it for a very long time because I'm in Romania, so Shorts were not available to my country. When they finally got available, I was like, okay, I'll jump on the train. I'll post on YouTube Shorts. And they worked, man. Like, geez, I have like a video. I mean, I know why that video has 4 million views. It's not because of my face, it's because it has boobs in it. So, yeah.
Turns out that works on every platform, eh?
Yeah. That one is funny. I did that one. It's one of the rare videos that I made specifically for TikTok, and it worked amazingly on YouTube. So yeah, TikTok has got like 1,000 views. YouTube has got 4 million.
Wow. So YouTube to me is a very interesting creature, and it's the one that I still currently put a lot of my energy into learning about.
I think YouTube is probably, it's the platform I like the best out of all of them.
Yeah. It's your content stays evergreen.
Like content stays evergreen. There's people producing like quality videos that you could not get any other way, like documentaries. Yeah. The other day I watched a bloody 1.5-hour documentary on Bloodborne. Where else are you going to find that? And the thing was made amazingly well. It was a blast.
Bloodborne?
Bloodborne, yeah, video game.
Okay, I thought you said something. I thought you said blood porn, and I was like, "What is Evan into?" Oh my gosh! So I wanted to clarify for any listeners that was Bloodborne, like the video game.
So I know you gave me permission to swear on the podcast, but I wouldn't say something this
extreme. I know. That's why I really wanted to clarify. And
no. Bloodborne, the video game. I know I have an accent when I speak English, but no, Bloodborne.
And we had talked earlier about how, swearing in Romania is much more hardcore. And I was like, oh man, like
everything's
not just
hardcore.
The swearing that's hardcore.
No. Next level stuff, man.
Okay. Yeah, YouTube does have great content though. And
yeah, base creator better also. The way the creator fund is set up on TikTok is that they have like this pool of money. And they distribute it between all creators, meaning that the more creator come in, the less money everybody gets, because the pool of money doesn't change. YouTube pays like each person on function of their views, which is a lot more fair.
Yeah.
And so it pays a lot better, right? So like if you're a creator, do YouTube.
Yeah. So what I was going to ask, one of the videos that I watched that you did just a couple weeks ago, and by the time this airs, it'll probably be a month or two. We'll see. But in this recent video, you talk about what makes a great D&D game. So I'm going to tie this a little bit back to the D&D side of things here.
This is the longer format video, right?
It's the 8-minute one.
Yeah.
And so you list 4 things. You listed, to anyone listening, first off, watch the video. I'm going to distill it down to some basic points, but there's a lot of detail in there that you should go see. So the first one had to do with building, that community, the camaraderie of the people. The second one was, the fun and the fun delicacies of role play. Delicacies, intricacies is probably a better word than delicacies. And then the strategic gameplay, you can always get better at it. And then the fourth one was deep personal story. But for you, as Evan, MonkeyDM, what do you find is the most important of those 4?
So, unlike most geeks/nerds, I would say I'm actually a fairly social person.
I feel like that's changing nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird because I'm like both. I like working alone, but I like hanging out with people. So whatever.
Totally.
The social aspect, like the first point, I feel is very, very important. I feel as humans anyway, you're always maybe not happier, but more living a more meaningful life when you're surrounded by people that care about you and that you care about. I feel like, when like you're going through struggles together and happiness and moments of joy. And D&D kind of replicates that, right? Like those struggles. Because like you have moments where your characters really struggle. Like it's like it might be a fantasy game, but to you it feels very real. I've had moments where players cried in front of me, and it was not like because I'm that terrible of a DM. It was like, just for the audience. It was
you got to fireball them. No.
No. It's like because I punched them in the face right before. No. It's why are you crying? No. It was because their character were going like through intense moments, right? Like character death. Like those were like marking moments. Like like left everybody a bit in awe. We had moments like this, and it's like it feels real. Like it's as real as it gets, as far as I'm concerned. Like, sure, it's a fake story, but like everybody's going through it together. And because we're all humans in a room, our brains does no difference. And we truly feel that. And so like, I would say it's like between point 1 and 4, where it's like, yeah, it's the personal stories And it's the fact that you live them with other people that just makes them seem real, and you can go on those crazy adventures, right? Those crazy things that you could never do otherwise. And, you have amazing bonding moments and stuff. And I really like that about the game, yeah.
And I have a follow-up to that, which
Go ahead.
is, how do you do those well? Because the topic of the video was, how do you, like, what makes up a great D&D game? So then, now that we've identified those, how do you think those are done well?
So the group of friends is, well, choose your friends well, I guess.
Yeah.
But on some level, you don't choose your friends, right? Like friends just come in the circle. Like you usually have affinities, and then you just bond, and that's how friendships are formed, right?
Right.
By the way, if you're having struggles finding friends to just go somewhere to the same place at the same time every day, you're going to start meeting the same people. And then because they see your face all the time, they might start nodding your way. And then guess what? You get a friendship on the way. It's usually how gym buddies are made, for example.
Right.
It's like, oh, you work out there too. Hi, nice to meet you. So group of friends, you need that, of course. Like I think this is like something that you can't replicate with a computer or anything else. It's like the depth that you get with like an actual human relationship. That's why I'm like a big fan of in-person games. There's pros to playing online, don't get me wrong, but I'm definitely a better fan of in-person. And then the depth of the characters. So that's, I would say, like 2, maybe 3 things. First, how much backstory did you give to your character? How invested are you? The more it's, it's like, view it as a tree, where like the taller the tree is, like basically the higher the emotional reward that you get, right? And so like you need to plan the roots. And like, what are the roots? It's like, how deep does your backstory go? How invested are you in the character? How much can you relate to that character, right? Because if the character is basically an extension of you that you want to explore, because that's usually what D&D characters are. It's like a trait of yours that you have, or like a story, something that you want to explore, right? Give it depth. Just give it depth. Like, let the character grow itself, It's like, don't try to like make the character do the things that you as a person would do. It's like, no, let the character do what the character would do. Like, write actual character, right? So you let them do what they would do and see what happens. And I think that's where like you have like those great story moments, because it's like often I feel like the great story moments in D&D, the moments that we all remember, is the stuff that we know as a person is bad to do, but our character will do it anyway because that's just who they are.
Yeah.
Right. And those are the moments where you have like this emotional payoff, because you're like, this is so terrible, but they have to do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's I would say how you get those.
I feel like D&D offers so many opportunities for catharsis within ourselves, idea of exerting emotions that we are not always safe to play with in our day-to-day lives, or actions or activities that we want to explore. That's why sometimes, like, the characters, I love what you just said, there are aspects of ourselves, and sometimes there are aspects of ourselves that we love, and sometimes there are aspects of ourselves that we're not super happy about, and other times there are aspects of ourselves that we just don't get to access or show people very often. That's one of the reasons I love playing D&D. Get to see people, especially when I introduce it to people who have never done it before or are just initially trying it, you get to see these different sides of a person come out because of this extreme, intense situation where maybe there's a dragon. They have to make a moral decision that isn't something they typically are able to make a choice on,
able to do
rob this person, or do I kill this person, or do I not? Like, we don't get to make those decisions day to day. We do in D&D, and it's a weird cathartic exploration of emotions.
I agree with that. I agree. That's why I love moral dilemmas, actually, in my D&D games. I do them a lot, like emphasize the character exploration and what would your character do. Like right now I have a video that's going to come out, for example, which is set up where it's basically you're hired to do an investigation, right? Well, like 3 years ago, there was a murder. There was multiple murders, actually, in a single night, bloody night. Many kids lost their parents that night. You do the investigation and arrive at the door of a family. 2 parents and their 2 daughters. Paladin quickly realizes that the mother is a devil, or at least she was. Now she truly fell in love and loved the tiefling that she met, and their 2 daughters are nothing if normal tieflings. But that night, 3 years ago, her nature came back to her, and nothing could appease her except killing. But she killed, realized that it was bad, but didn't give herself in because she was not about to abandon her kids. But now the villagers want to know who did the murder. So what do? Do you take a mother away from her children and let the children live with the fact that her mother was a devil and the consequences that entails for their future life? Or do you let the murderer on the loose? It's like, well, that's a messed up situation.
That's a good one. I like that.
I love that. I want to say, like, so many of the videos that I've seen you do are, you create the drama, you create the moral decision, you put people right in the situation. And I'm curious, like, how do you come up with these types of such scenarios? Where does that come from? And is there a strategy that you have?
Human history.
Yes.
When you look at any history books, there's a lot of messed up stuff that happens in a lot of places, a lot of times, and a lot of people that were put in very awkward situations. And yeah.
The best stories are from history, totally.
Like, because I live in Eastern Europe, a lot of the stories I do are based on stuff that happened around here, like Russia, Ukraine, Romania.
Right.
Like, I have an adventure, for example, on my Patreon. I probably should make it free, which is like about a rebellion, right? And it's based on something that happened here in Romania. It's called, like, it was known in the world as the mine workers incident. Probably didn't hear of it. It was like in 1990. It was like, because we had like a communist dictator in Romania until 89, Ceausescu, who basically believed himself to be a god. And like, if you said anything against the government back then, you would just vanish overnight, right? And nobody would know where you go. It was like tough, right? And it was like full like communist dictatorship. Like like people were like oppressed. It was bad. It was bad for the people.
Wow.
So, and the reason that guy fell, actually, funnily enough, it could make a good D&D scenario. I'm actually considering making it a story, is because like the next guy, like his right hand, wanted to be king instead of the king, right? So he was like, he brought the people together, the military, and he was like, yeah, it's your time to go. And at first, but like the mistake that he made is he sold everybody on freedom, right? He sold the Romanian people. He was like, yeah, you'll have freedom, like freedom from communism, freedom to do your own choices, to talk freely in the street, to not be afraid of being sent to the gulags. Right, that was like what he sold people on. And then like he became the president, and he was like, yeah, I'm in contact with Gorbachev in Russia and stuff. So like the dude was like a Russian agent. Like he wanted to basically like do his own version of communism, but he basically couldn't, because now the whole population was like down with communism. Like that's what the whole story that like everybody gathered around and like wanted to like bring the government down for. So basically when he was like, I want to do, and people were like, no, you're not. And he was like, yeah, I don't want to die. I'm fine. But anyway, so it was massively corrupt government. Like, to tell you, people were eating dirt, not to starve. Like when you have like this massive feeling of hunger, just putting dirt in your stomach and like tying a knot around your belly, for example, helps you not feeling the starvation. I've never done it. That's what the stories say. So it was like bad, right? It was not very nice for the people living there. And Ceausescu, so like the dictator, was living in a palace. So like his bathroom was made of entire gold. His palace, like the inside is entirely made of marble. Like the dude was wealthy beyond wealth. Like he was basically like gathering all the people, and that was like for him, and he was a god. Like that's like there was like songs dedicated to him. Like if you watch a documentary about like North Korea, that's basically how it was in Romania.
Yeah, it sounds like North Korea right now.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was in Romania. That's like exactly the communist regime what it was.
It tends to be how most communist regimes go.
Even without talking political, because it's like it was just like a massively corrupt system where like the dude basically was like self-proclaimed god. You couldn't have a religion beside worshiping the guy. Like that was it. Like you had to worship the guy as a god. Like it was insane. So he fell. Next guy wanted to be king, but couldn't, because basically like the whole populace was like, if you put communism, we will take your head. So he was like, fine, democracy it is. But it was not really democracy. It was like a lot of corruption. It was like everybody had the power, like just like grabbing the money off of everybody. But at some point, basically like this had to fall, because basically like people were working, but not generating money for the country. Back in the Soviet era, basically like each Soviet country was like buying stuff from each other, and that's how they built their wealth, right? Think of it like some sort of free exchange. It was like government regulated. It was strange, but that's how it worked, right? But now basically what we had was like Romanian workers working for something, like working like in the mines with like this like heavy equipment that like killed them. Like by 50 they were dead. Like that was it. This very intense equipment, like no work living condition. Like it was just terrible. And basically their work, the things that were creating were useless because nobody wanted them. So, but that's how communism worked. It's like, like the state like orders forever things for another country. Maybe they need them, maybe they don't. Who cares? It's centrally regulated. You hope that they need them. it's not like a free market economy, right? It's not like the customers that dictate the demand. At some point, so like after like months of like PSD was the party, another regime came into place and saw that basically the economies of the country was like crumbling because we were like basically paying these workers because they were like engaged by the state to create something that was effectively losing money. It was like bleeding out the country. But what do you tell those people? You're like, hey, you have to stop working now because you're not producing any value. All this corruption like led to this point where like the money of the state was just like void, empty. So they had to like be like, okay, we're gonna stop, paying you guys because like your work is basically useless. Like it doesn't provide money, it doesn't provide value. And it's like, go tell to a guy who's working like 80 hours a week in mines that are like killing him that his work is useless.
Yeah.
It's like, you're telling him that, really? So like they came in the street and they were like violent. They like assaulted people. It was like very, very bad incident. Like in the public eye, put Romania very bad. It was like a complex political situation, of course.
Yeah.
And because I'm a moron, I was like, that will be a great D&D adventure. So if you play this adventure, it's called the Tuscas Rebellion. You can find it on my Patreon. I'll probably make it free. And it's I think it's a cool adventure. It allows characters to explore maybe political aspects of their character, which I think might be interesting. I do not take the full credit for this adventure. My good friend Sherban is the one that came up with it. Born and raised Romanian, is very familiar. And if you're interested in Romanian history, by the way, very interesting documentary that you can find on YouTube talking about it.
Ooh.
It's called like 30 de ani de democrație, which is like 30 years of democracy, I think it's called.
30 years of democracy?
30 years of democracy.
Okay.
Or like 30, so like 30 an, so A-N-I, de, so like D-E, democrație, so like democracy. It's like the same writing, right? It's documentary. I think it's like 3 hours long. It's got full English subtitles. It's very well done. And it explains like basically the whole Romanian history after the fall of communism, all the corruption that came with it. Because like Romania is a free country since very recently. It's not even 40 years, 35 years or something. So yeah, it's like, and you see like the extent of the corruption, how it, so if something you're interested in, maybe you can pull some good D&D one-shots out of it.
Definitely love those history lessons.
I think that's one of the brand things that I do is that I take old stories and I give them a new twist. For example, I did the 10 Commandments, right? I did the 10 Plagues, not the 10 Commandments. They're very different.
Oh, yes. I saw this on your Patreon.
Right? That's biblical stories, right? It's old stuff. It's not new at all. And I made 10 Plagues. It sold super well. People really liked it, right? Like those biblical monsters. You like, when you say that something is a biblical monster, you know it's a pretty bad monster, right? I did the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but as dragons. Right, 4 dragons of the apocalypse. It's one of my most voted posts on Reddit. Like people really loved it. Big shout out to Harina R, her Instagram handle, the one who did the art. Amazing artist. She was very nice because it was the beginning when I didn't have a lot of money, and I just asked her like, "Hey, can I use your art?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." And like no, like she just like make sure to credit me properly, and like she didn't ask for any money. That was amazing of her. And yeah, no. So yeah, big thank you to her.
I was going to ask you about that because when I was looking through your adventures and all the content you have on your Patreon, because it's robust, you have so much great stuff in there, and I gotta say that for the $12 or whatever a month that I think I signed up for, that tier is like, wow, holy crap, it's a great value. Like you're getting a lot of great stuff. But even like your adventures, I really like that you have solid plot hooks going into everything. The writing for like how to set this up. And the scene is good. Like I read those D&D ones and I'm like, this kind of sucks, but like the one you put out there, it's really good. So I want to applaud you for that. But also the art. Each one of your Patreon things has really appropriate and solid, good art. Do you find artists and do you just have relationships with them and pay for that, or is it free, or like how does that work?
I'm paying for all the art, but I have good deals. I have extremely good deals. So I have the deal with like for maps, mostly 2 people, Ori the cartographer and Chepeco, and they allow me basically, as long as you put nice and clear, and I make sure every time to put it like nice and big, like who is the art where, always put gridded maps. So if people want the maps without the grid, they have to go on the other person's Patreon, right?
Gotcha.
Like that's the deal, but I still pay them a sum every month, and in exchange, I'm allowed to use the maps in my work. And that's the how the deal is set up. And for the compendiums, so like the art for like the various subclasses and all that stuff, some of it is commissioned, some of it is stock art, some of it's people giving me art. That happened like twice, so most of the time it's not that. And yeah, that's most of it how it's done.
You know, you mentioned that you pay an artist monthly. Is that, do you do lump sum, or at least I thought I heard you say that, but are you, so are you doing, you know, the different kinds of paying artists would be lump sum up front for a project?
So basically, with one of them, probably people have seen a lot of his art. I have a thing where I have 4 pieces of art a month, and I pay a certain sum for that.
Oh, gotcha. I see.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And you can request what it is that you get of those 4 pieces.
Sometimes, not always. It depends, because he's like a big stock art guy.
Okay.
So it's like if I have enough, because it's like basically I built up like this credits with them, like by paying every month, and because like I don't always use his art, and when I do, I can like, if I have enough credits, I can like ask for a specific piece. If I don't, I just take, you know, because he makes great art anyway. So like a lot of times I just like, even sometimes when I don't know what to make, for example, I will look up some of the art he made and be like, hey, can I turn that into a subclass maybe, or like a monster or something? And you know, that how the inspiration rolls sometimes as well.
Well, that also leads into like, how do you, what's your daily routine like now that this is like your full-time thing? Are there things you do daily to keep yourself motivated, and also like, what does it kind of look like every day that you do?
Okay, I have a probably not healthy routine, but for me, I'll break it down. Sure. So right now we're past my bedtime. It's 8:50. It's all right. I'm all fine. So I wake up at like 4:30 in the morning, which is fairly early.
Yeah.
I wake up, I have a cup of coffee. So I want to say this because it's funny. Like this morning, I woke up, I had to have a cup of coffee, realized I didn't have coffee, and the stores are closed until 7. I was very mad.
A hard morning.
I was very mad. So, you know, usually I have coffee in the house. Now I do. I bought like 2 packs because I was like, I don't want to run out again. So, wake up. Then I sit down on my desk, usually have the tasks written from the previous night, like stuff I want to complete in the morning, because usually I work from like 4:30, I would say, to like 8 in the morning. And this is like time where I just like the big building blocks of the business, right? Like stuff that I know will probably make me more money in the future, like the big investments, like the stuff that I feel is important, like Patreon content, like that's usually like, because at this time it's nighttime, which for some reason I find I work quite well during. And I also have like this weird mental thing where I'm like, yeah, I'm better than everybody. Look at them, they're sleeping and I'm working already.
Motivated.
Super unhealthy, by the way, but I don't know. It's how it works in my mind. I know it's completely wrong because I just go to bed at 9 and, you know, people work later than that. So it doesn't really change much, but whatever.
Yeah.
So then from there, I go to the gym, usually around 8:30, take my pre-workout, go to the gym. The gym is literally downstairs from my place, so I don't have any walking to do. Train for about an hour. I train about 6 times a week.
Wow.
Yeah. It's, I like it also because when I train, I don't think. It's like a very like you know, I have like my music. I'm enjoying my music. I'm feeling my body, and it's like very relaxing, right? So it gives like a nice break after working hard. I come back, then I eat. So it's funny because sometimes like 9 in the morning, I'm having a steak. Whatever.
Hey, steak is a great way to start the day.
Yeah. I mean, I don't eat breakfast usually. I just have coffee and that's it. And sometimes if I feel a bit like I need energy before the gym, I'll have like a quick yogurt and that's it. I don't feel hungry in the morning. So then, come back from the gym, eat, take a shower. If I'm feeling exhausted, like physically, maybe I take a 20-minute nap. Then I work until like, I want to say like 4, like from like, 10 to 4. That would be appropriate. 4, I stop, relax a bit, you know, whatever, have dinner, do stuff. And then past 4, so if I'm feeling like it, I work a bit more, like until 6, 7, I don't know. Sometimes I don't, sometimes I just chill. Usually it's like the tasks which are less mentally demanding that I do around those hours. So like stuff like replying to people on Instagram or like messages, stuff like that, like stuff that's like very like, you know, mindless. I put them at the later hours of the day, and then like I just relax about like from 8 till 8:39, and then back to bed, and then go again.
And is most of your work comprise like the creativity of writing and like piecing all that stuff together that you're creating as content? Is that when you
So
say
right now I'm working on a Kickstarter at the moment, so it's taking some of my time.
Snap.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I'm fairly excited for it. I am by contract obligated to not disclose much of it, but
of course.
Right, gives reason for people to follow you, go check it out.
yeah, it won't be out yet because it's gonna release later, like in summer. But like to tell you how much work you have to start earlier, like how earlier you have to start working on the Kickstarter, right?
Yes.
Especially if you want to make something kind of big. So I'm working on that. I have the Patreon that I'm doing. So I have my video content. I also at the moment I'm trying to expand my mailing list because I have a mailing list of about 3,000 people.
Nice.
Yeah, and you look at people like DM Dave, for example.
Yeah.
He's making like 22,000 a month on Patreon, doing what we do. Yeah. But because actually DM Dave is the thing that like pushed me into like working even harder. Because like, damn, this dude is like making 20 grand a month doing what I do. Damn it, I got to step up my game, right?
Yeah.
Turns out it's actually a team of like 5-6 people.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not just him. He's got a number of people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a number of people, but I didn't know that at first. So I just like, oh yeah, it's one guy. He's just working really hard. And so I was like, get to work, Evan.
Unrealistic expectations from the beginning.
Yeah. So it turns out I'm doing all right. But, he's got like a massive mailing list. And most, because I've talked to some like dudes who are very, very wealthy. Not in particular, like, because I like business in general, not just D&D, and what I run right now is basically a business, right? Like it's nerd business, like you guys would say.
Yeah.
Talk to other businessmen, see how they're doing to like, build their business. So like I talked with a guy and he was like, yeah, you're doing good with the traffic. You've got like good traffic lanes, but you don't have leads. He's like, your leads need to become emails because emails you control. Whereas stuff like Instagram, YouTube, you're always dependent on the algorithm, right? Email, you always can control who gets the bloody mail. You can't control who opens it, but you can control that everybody gets it. Not the case with YouTube, not the case with Instagram, not the case with any platform, right? So it's like, you've got like small mailing lists, but you don't use it because I just don't send mail because I don't know, I never really thought of mail. And he was like, do it. And that's a guy that makes like 10 million a year or something. That's like a very wealthy man.
Yeah. Wow.
And so he was like, just get on the bloody mailing thing. And I was like, you know what? If you're making 10 million a year and you're telling me to do mail, I should probably listen to you. So
that's a great lesson for our listeners. Is like email addresses are super important.
Yeah. Because like that's
emails
something
are your only online asset.
That's like the only thing you actually own online, right? Because like Instagram bans you, you're fried off of Instagram. You're done. Same with YouTube. Like you like email. If you've got the mailing list, just like an Excel file, you can upload it in the next thing, and it's fine.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Emails are key. Like literally in the business that I work in, the number one thing we do is email marketing and teaching people to generate their own list because it is the only asset somebody has that can't be taken away from you. You literally, whereas everything else, they can change the algorithm and screwed. Or if something changes in the world, all of a sudden platform goes away or everyone moves to a completely different platform, your platform becomes irrelevant. It's just not in your control. And so collect those emails. That's an awesome lesson for people.
Yeah, but I don't want to do mail like because I don't know, I feel like everybody's getting used to email marketing and nobody likes it. So I think I'll just do like a lot of like kind of what I've been doing with Reddit, where I'll just give people a shit ton of free stuff, and then maybe once in a while I'll be like, hey, you can give me money sometimes. And that's if they want to. If they don't, it's fine. I'll still give them free stuff.
Yeah. What you're doing is working. I'll say that.
Seems to be.
I really wanted to ask you just about like if you had 1 million followers,
what advice would you give them?
Sure, I'll give you one that worked well for me. I never knew this, but my parents made me do sports all my life. Both my parents are like extremely in shape. They're like both past 60. They can probably bike a lot more than I can. They're in incredible shape.
Wow,
it's absolutely amazing. They both always told me, like healthy mind in a healthy body, like get your body in shape.
Yeah,
I mostly stuck to that. But there was a period of time where I didn't exercise. Right, my sleep quality suffered immensely. I got back onto exercise, and my sleep got so much better. And when my sleep got better, my mood got better. So I'm just saying, if like you're having mood issues, obviously this is not medical advice, even though I did medicine. It's not medical advice.
Gotta have those disclaimers, yeah.
Yeah, but try exercising for a bit and see how your sleep improves. Just do it for 30 days, like a month, it's like I give this advice to most of my friends, and most of my friends who tried, like, their sleep improved. And when your sleep improves, your mood improves. So just something to consider. It's free to do most of the time. You can just, like, maybe you need a pair of running shoes and some clothes, like, okay, but beyond that, you'll be fine.
That's great advice. I'm actually really glad you said that, because that is not only a great reminder for me, but anybody listening who just needs that extra push to go do that. That's great.
Especially nerds who don't always work out that often,
Yeah.
So
nerds don't always get out. Yeah.
I don't recommend working out as often as I am. I think 6 times a week is a bit excessive, but for me it works because, like I said, it's not just working out; it's also like a place for my head.
Yeah.
But some exercise definitely helps. And funnily enough, because I posted once, maybe twice by now, pictures of me shirtless on my Instagram on the story. Yeah, I posted.
I bet everybody loved that.
You were on that TikTok trend with the light. I remember you did that light.
Yeah, I did the trend with the light. Yeah, that was funny. I got so many thirsty messages after that. That was hilarious. Yeah. I realized that half my audience wants to bang me, so I was like, okay, that's information I will sleep with now.
Different kind of Patreon rewards at that point.
If you needed any other reason to start working out, nerds, let's
I got quite the messages, I can tell you that much.
There is an open market, I guess, for nerdy, successful, ripped guys.
My gosh! Here's a business idea: is a nerd calendar. We can get a bunch of sexy nerds.
Yes. There we go. Perfect. All right.
Oh, Chris, we got to start this. MonkeyDM, we're going to get you on that at one point. We're going to create some sort of program that works for everybody.
To be fair, Jeannie D, I think, because I don't follow her content that much, but she does calendar stuff, right? Like she does pinup and stuff like that. So
that's
pretty
true.
Sure she's probably got a calendar. It's like nerd oriented.
Okay. All right. We'll have to look for some inspiration there. Sorry, this is so funny to me, but it's awesome.
I will say there's probably a number of nerds who do work out. I don't know if I'm on that train yet, but I will say, like, I know Fire and Dice DM. That guy has been like pumping iron forever. He looks like a Viking, and so there's probably a number of people that would actually.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely, there's like the biggest one is like Joe Manganello.
Oh yeah. If we could just get Joe for the cover, that would be perfect.
God.
Right?
He's jacked as hell, right? Like he's incredibly. I mean, he's probably taking some sauce. I would assume.
As an actor, it's part of his job. He needs to train.
That's one thing I don't like is like a lot of people are not transparent with the use of stuff. But I understand why. But I think it's not good for young people because then you like. Well, I work out and I don't look like, like a fucking monster. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I posted because I posted them like 6 months apart, like those pictures of me shirtless, right? And I got a message the other day that really made me happy because it was like a dude who was like, I don't know how much of it's true. I hope it's true. He was like, yeah, dude, like I saw your, the thing with the light, like that I did like a while back. And he was like, that inspired me to like start working out because I realized that, it's not because I'm a nerd that I can't work out. And so I did, and now I lost like, I think he told me like 20 pounds. I'm not exactly sure how much that is, but
nice.
Like 10 kilos, I believe. And he was like, and that's thanks to you. And I was like, well, damn, that's nice. I'm really happy for you, man. Like, I really rooting for you. Like, you go get it, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's so many ripples from putting out content, I think, that you don't know the impact. You don't know that the effect that you'll have when you have an audience like that. But just being you and growing yourself and doing that, you do wind up inspiring others, and that's awesome. That's really, really cool.
Because like when you have an audience, true that you realize you can help a lot of people, like I did with that Ukrainian family, like I did with like maybe that guy who lost some weight. Like, it's like to different extent, but you did help. I got a lot of messages, it's a lot by now, of people asking me, how did you make it in D&D content creation? And I feel like that would be nice information to put out. So I think at some point I will like make a maybe more detailed guide on how to do it. Maybe not just the D&D niche, because I feel like if everybody starts doing D&D, it's going to get saturated and it's not going to be fun for anybody.
Sure. Yeah.
To be honest. But on like creative niches, and that's something that I'm planning to do like maybe in the next 6 months once the Kickstarter is done, reaching out to artists and be like, hey, I know you're an artist, and maybe you're struggling, maybe you're not, I don't know. I want to work with you, and see if we can like help you, like take your stuff off the ground and like get a better income. And I want to do that for like 2-3 people, maybe for free, and just like, or like very small charge, like probably free. It's just like basically like to see if like what I've learned here I can like replicate and help other people build. Like, so like basically more people can live off their passion, their creative thing.
Yeah.
And like make an income, make a living off of that. And then like once, I've managed to do it with like 2-3 people, maybe like democratize this and like, like create like a full, like, I don't know, like 5-step plan, whatever it is, probably more. Where it's like, like, hey, do this and that will help you with your income if you put in the work.
This is
Something.
touching very much on what we're doing right now, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
And
there's a whole vision behind Nerdpreneur where it is about helping people find that passion. Because even, for example, digital artists, like our next episode is with someone who is a professional digital artist that we're releasing. We've already recorded it. It's already ready. It's in like 2 days. But literally talking and discerning what were the steps she took to create clients and go from this point of just having an Instagram and then a year later working full-time as a digital artist. There are tactics, there are things that really work that you can be replicated in whatever industry. And us talking to, like, we talked to a guy who was a tarantula breeder, right? Like, that's a totally different niche, but he was doing similar things in some way to grow his audience and be successful as a nerdpreneur. Same thing when we're talking to people who are, musicians, or if we're talking to someone who's a magician, right? A zombie magician. Keep talking because it's a weird one.
Yeah,
but
finding the common denominator between all of them is kind of is what is pushing us a lot in this direction.
The times we live in, there's no reasons to not be able to become a success in some way. All the strategies are there, means are there, so much power to be able to create and do what we want to do now compared to where we used to be.
There's definitely like more opportunities than ever. I suddenly feel it as like a guy living in Romania. If I show you, like, I don't know if you've seen footage of what Ukraine looks like. This is what Romania looks like. It's like this old Soviet building. People are poor. But because I have this thing in front of me, my laptop, I have access to the internet. And with the internet, I have the possibility of doing business in the world. And I worked. And like that blows my mind that like from here in Romania, I was able to do the things that I do. And it's all thanks to the power of the internet.
Yeah,
and
we can even have a video call and there's no downtime. There's no like detrimental lag. That always blows my mind. Halfway around the world.
So are you nerdy about anything else outside your core business?
So I have a couple of nerdy passions. So I waste my time sometimes. I watch Pokemon Nuzlocke.
What?
What is that?
Pokemon, like Pokemon. Nuzlocke. So like it's basically like you play Pokemon as you regularly would, but like if your Pokemon faints, when it falls to 0 hit points, it doesn't faint, it just dies. So you can never use that Pokemon again, and you can never catch another one of the same species, right? So like if you caught a Pikachu and it died, you're never getting Pikachu again.
This is like playing Pokemon on nightmare mode.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like Pokemon, but it's not for kids anymore.
Yeah,
it's just like it's kind of the idea. And those videos are like there's like some very good creators out there on YouTube who do that. And those videos are like 30 or 40 minutes long. And like sometimes, when I'm eating or when I don't want to work or something, I watch those a bit. Those would be one of the things my nerdy interests. 26 years old and still watching Pokemon, but that's all right.
I have plenty of friends that got back into playing the Game Boy version of Pokemon.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we live in an amazing world because nowadays there's people who are professional Pokemon trainers.
Whoa.
So, like the fucking YouTubers who make living out of playing Pokemon. As far as I'm concerned, you're a Pokemon trainer and you make a living out of it.
We'll definitely call them up for another Nerdpreneur episode because I'm serious. I want to talk to pro video gamers or this weird niche of like, all right, you're a legitimate Pokemon trainer in this real like fake world. There are so many weird niches that you can do now.
Yeah.
Now with like the fact that you can document everything basically, as long as you can make an entertaining video or audio, whatever about the thing that you're doing, people will tune in, listen, and maybe just throw a couple of bucks your way, and maybe that's enough. Couple of bucks that you can make a living out of it, and that's kind of cool. So other nerdy hobby, so there's like Pokemon I like a lot, and I'm a big fan of Dark Souls.
Whoa.
I haven't ordered Elden Ring.
Okay.
I want
That's
to play
one
it
question.
so bad, but I'm not. And the reason why is because if I play it, I'm not gonna have a life. For the
Yeah,
next
you won't.
and I'm not gonna do anything else. I know myself. I've played video games before. What happens is I get the game. I play like 60 hours in like 2 days, even though it's not possible. I play like every waking hour of my time needs to be played. So because I know I have this fault in me, that's why I have a Mac, because I can't play video games on a bloody Mac. They're not powerful enough. That's why I don't have a console, because I can't play video games this way. So this way I like don't like waste my time and like die just like play video games, because I know I would fucking love it.
That's a productivity tool right there. Just don't have the system powerful enough to play the games, and you won't waste your time.
Yeah. Like that's literally how I built it. It's like, because I knew, like, I last time I had a computer I could play video games on, I can tell you that was not a productive time at all. So I got that out of my life, and that's why I'm on Mac. That's like one of the main reasons I'm on Mac. It's not because I like the hardware so much or something. It's just I can't play video games on it.
I feel the same way with snack food. I can control my wallet. I can't control my cravings. So if I buy any of the snack food and it's in my house, I will eat it. So I stop myself at the grocery store. So when I'm hungry, I'm looking around. I'm like, shit, all I got is celery. That's all I can eat right now is celery. Fine, I'll just eat some freaking celery. And that happens to be enough to get me through the night. Yeah, you can control certain areas. And you have to know yourself well enough to know where you can and can't control those cravings.
But like it's like the same with like I mentioned earlier, TikTok, right? Like it's just like you turn on the app and then like an hour is gone.
Yes.
And then you feel like hell. And you're like, okay, I don't like this. I spent way too much time. Delete the fucking app.
Yeah.
Remove the account. There you go. Fix the problem.
This is actually a really interesting point. There's two schools of thought here that we're touching on. One is, when you get to know yourself well enough, you understand which of these schools is best for you, whether you just completely obliterate the thing from your life, which I have done. Like you're saying, when I was in school, I totally made sure I had a a bad computer that just could do school, because I knew I was the same way. If I gamed at all, if I could game, school would suffer. So I didn't want that. And then the other way of thinking is, oh, I will find the balance. That is hard work. That is hard, but that is what I pursue, is to find that balance, because I do love to game. I love to play those great games, but I also know that it's such a trap. And it's I don't think one is right more than the other necessarily. I just think that for individual people, it
depends on the person. Yeah. But some people are good at, like my brother. Yeah. My brother, also a nerd. We grew up playing Zelda together. Like we would stay in the same room. He would play Zelda, I would watch. Yeah. And then we would alternate. That's how we bond, right? Like I love my brother to death. He has very good self-control. He's able to turn on the console, play 30 minutes, and then that's it. He plays 30 minutes.
Whoa, just 30 minutes. That is
or
good
like
control.
Maybe an hour, like whatever time he's deemed is appropriate for playing games. I cannot do that. I am a Sith. I can't pronounce, like the opposite of a Jedi.
Sith.
Sith. Yeah, Sith. There you go.
I deal in absolutes, meaning that it's like it's either all in or all out. I cannot. There's no regulation. It's not possible. It's just like with my business. Now I work like 10, 12 hours a day on the business, and I don't mind it. I like it. It's cool. I like doing that. I go to the gym 6 times a week. It's like it's either all in or nothing. And it's just like my personality. Always been like this. It's like, so I set up my life around that. Let's just say.
But that's the dream, working 12 hours on something that you like, and that is going in that direction.
So I will say this on work. When I'm working, I'm not like when you're in the state of like deep work, like when you've been editing for a while and you're like in the state of flow where it's just like coming out of you. You're not even thinking really. It's like time is passing, but you're not like putting any judgment of value on it. It's just happening. And I think that's like the best state to be in, because like a lot of people like have this like, like internal judgment. Oh, I should be doing this, should be doing that, blah, 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 blah. When I'm at the gym lifting, for example, that's like the easiest way for me to get in the zone, is like, I'm just lifting. I'm not like thinking of anything else. I'm not putting a value judgment on the lifting. I'm just doing the thing. And same with like, I managed to get in a state of like good work. I just work. That's it. There's no judgment. It's not good. It's not bad. But at the end of the day, when I finish my day, I feel like it was meaningful. And I think enjoy is not the right term, is what I would say, you know? Because it's like, I don't not enjoy it. It's not like I enjoy it either. It just happens. It's like this very flowing kind of thing, where there's no judgment, there's no thinking happening. It's just the work. And I think that's where I'm at my most satisfied, I would say.
I love that. So this next section is called random rolls. So these are less serious, more fun kind of questions. So we're going to do 3 rolls, and then we'll ask you the questions depending on what those numbers are. Go for it.
72.
72. Oh, this is perfect for you. What is your stance on min-maxing your characters? Does it take away or add to the fun?
It depends on your min-maxing. No, optimizing, I would say, adds to the fun. Min-maxing probably detracts from it, because like there's only so many min-max characters, you know, like there's only so many like broken characters. Like it's like a very like few like specific combos of characters which are actually broken, and like the other ones can be fun, can become strong, and like making them more strong is probably more fun. But there's like definitely like a breaking point, I would say, where it's just like, yeah, we've all seen like a Sorlock or like a Hexblade Paladin, or you know, like we've all seen those. It's yeah, you can get creative, but we've all seen the build. So, you know, it's get something else going, I guess, is my thinking on this one.
Go ahead and roll again.
100.
Ooh, that's my choice. How about this? If you had all of Jeff Bezos's money, what would you do with it?
If I had all of Jeff, there's so much money. That's like more than an ancient gold dragon, man. Like legit, like by the math, like what's written in the book. It's more. I can't even fathom that much money. Probably like take like 20 million for myself and give the rest to charities which I know are doing good, because I mean I guess that's my experience with the Romanian government, but a lot of charities do a lot of very good thing and are very transparent with how they spend money. In Romania, the government doesn't even have a sheet where the money goes, so like for all we know, it may be going in the politician's pocket. So, you know, give it to like some nice charities who are doing good work around the world. Probably my answer, and keep a big chunk of it for me because I'm selfish like that.
Hey, if it's your money.
It's so much money, man. Like I don't even know if 20 million is like he would even realize it's gone from his account. Like,
he would.
No
you
idea.
could just, if you had all the money in Jeff Bezos, you could take $1 billion and just put it in an account, and that would be it. And then literally spend all the other money to do whatever you wanted, and you probably would still have like 4 billion left over after you'd given everyone in the world money. Or
there is something to be said, because I've had I was a broke student. I've been a broke student before. You know, it's like do I get a coffee with my friends or do I have dinner tonight? You know, this is the question. I've been there. I didn't give much back then because I didn't have the money to give. And now that I have more money, I do donate to charities and stuff, and I do like helping with the extra money I have. So I would say, like, if you're struggling with money, get your life in order, and then you can start helping people. Just like, you know, if a plane crashes, get yourself first and then help the person next to you.
I love that topic, but we're not going to dive into it, but I very much agree on many levels. Okay. Last roll.
Third roll. I love rolling myself. It's been so long since I rolled some D100s, man. 25.
Huh. This, we haven't asked this one before, and I'm curious if this will apply. But what was your best science fair project? Did you have science fairs in your schools?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. We did a Faraday cage.
What?
A Faraday cage. So basically, it's like it's a funny thing. It's like a cage where basically, if you shoot lightning into it and you're inside the cage, you're actually protected from the lightning, even though the cage is made of metal. It's like because of like I can't remember exactly the formula. I was young lad, and we didn't actually put someone in it. It was like a probe basically that was like put inside to record if it would get any electricity, right? And then we had like the thing that was like blew the lightning, and we built the cage, and basically like it worked. Like the probe didn't get any lightning, or maybe I don't know, the contact with it just I don't know. It worked. My teacher said it worked, so I assume it worked. But yeah, so basically you build this cage which is like made of iron. So you put that basically around the probe, and you make like a small cage out of it. Put the probe in the middle, put the lightning, and the probe is protected. And basically you can expand that to actually humans, put them in that cage, and it protects them from lightning. For example, the Faraday cage that we all know is an airplane, meaning that the lightning touches the plane, is exited at like the other end of the plane. People inside the plane are not affected by it.
Oh.
So like that's the idea behind a Faraday cage.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know about this. I just learned
There you
something new. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. No, I was 'cause I know like a lot of people have like the business story of I was bad in school and school wasn't for me and you know I made a business. It's like I was great in school. I did medicine, so I liked school. I was pretty good at it. But
You didn't have
turns
that
out I-
problem.
Stumbled into this business thing despite all that education.
Yeah.
So let's do our rapid
All right.
fires
Well,
because I think there's
Yeah,
great
so the
material.
rapid fires, quick questions, they're just a couple words, and your answers can be just a couple words. Unless they sound wrong or weird, then we'll make you go into more detail.
Sure.
All right, first one, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars, not the new series though.
Okay.
That's so consistent. Like we keep so many people who say that.
Yeah.
It's
Do you not like
Right.
Star Trek, or is Star Trek still okay?
The new Star Trek is absolutely horrendous. The
now new Star Trek TV shows or movies?
I tried to watch the shows. I couldn't get to one episode in. I just like cringed. And the movies, well, I was in the cinema, so I was stuck in there. But it was not that bad, the movies, I guess. But it was not that great either compared to the old ones. That's my opinion. But yeah.
Okay. Well, I think you're wrong, and Discovery has gotten really good. So yeah, that's all I'll say.
Sure. I'll take it.
Who was the best Spider-Man actor?
I really like the latest one. What's his name?
Holland.
Tom Holland.
Is it Tom
Yeah.
Holland?
Yeah. Holland. I like him. I feel like he's young Spider-Man. Like he definitely gets the vibe. I didn't watch the latest one, like the multiverse, like the
Far From
like
Home?
all three.
Yeah.
I want to watch it. I haven't had the opportunity yet.
What are your 3 favorite pizza toppings?
I like chorizo.
Mm-hmm.
Chorizo. I'm
Chorizo,
not sure how
yeah,
you pronounce it in
No,
English.
that's right.
Olives go great on pizza. And then mushrooms. Let's just go with mushrooms. Mushrooms are a great topping.
I am curious about one thing because we talked to someone and they said that in Romania, corn on pizza is a thing. Is that
Yeah, it is. I did hate it.
okay? All right. I just wanted to.
You want to know? So I'll tell you a little quick tangent on Romanian pizza. So tomato sauce is expensive. So usually they don't use tomato sauce; they use ketchup. First of all, big red flag, right? Or they put a bit of tomato sauce, but then they use like sauces next to the pizza, which they dip the pizza in instead of like just eating like regular pizza. They dip the pizza in sauce. I don't like doing that. I hate that they do that, but they don't put enough sauce in their pizza, so sometimes you have to do it. I'm not a particularly big fan of it, but now I found a Napolitan pizza in town. It's great. I only take pizza from there. And they sometimes put corn because, I don't know, they're the spawns of Satan or something.
I'm glad to hear that was real, but yeah.
Yeah, they fall in the chaotic evil spectrum. In that vein, would you prefer to use orcs or gnolls in your adventure?
I prefer orcs because there are more humans. Like gnolls, if you use gnolls, they're purely monsters. With orcs, you can do more fun, messed up stuff to your players because I'm a big fan of dark fantasy and making people think twice on their action. So orcs.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many cats is too many cats?
1.
Cool.
Okay. Laser tag or paintball?
Never tried paintball. So I'll go laser tag. But I heard it's awesome, so I really want to try it one day.
I'm in that boat. And then the last one on my end, are you a fan of hot weather or cold weather?
I like both, actually, as a matter of fact. Cold weather, because sometimes it's nice and cozy to snuggle inside. So I'll say cold weather when you have an inside to go to, because, obviously.
Yes.
Warm weather is nice, but I sweat. So, that's not so nice, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I like warm weather, though, because you can go to the beach, and I like cold weather, because skiing is something I did when I was growing up. I was very lucky to have the chance to do that. And it's I can even do backflips now. Hey, but I love skiing, so I like cold weather for the snow. And because let's be honest, Romanian cities are not very pretty. It's like old Soviet bloc; they look ugly as hell. And when everything is covered in snow, it looks a lot nicer. And we have a lot of snow here, so that's something I like about it.
My last one, I think, will be: what would be your zombie apocalypse weapon of choice?
I did not think that one through before the interview. I'll let you know that much. Zombie. So I remember watching a video a long time ago that it was better to have an axe than a gun, because it was a lot harder to find, especially here we don't have guns, to find ammo and stuff. So I guess an axe is nice, or otherwise I'll just take like a couple of tactical nukes and just like wipe the planet out, and maybe that'll stop the apocalypse, I guess.
I feel like those are hanging around a lot more in the Eastern Europe than they are in Canada.
Yeah, we have a couple around here. Yeah, we definitely do.
We do too.
Yeah, America.
Yeah, in the US we have maybe a couple more, I would say, actually.
I always thought Canada would be awful for an apocalypse. We have no guns. We'd just be taking our hockey sticks and hockey skates and trying to kill people with that or knock off heads with that.
I feel like the zombies would be like extremely, like especially if it's winter, like the zombie would be like very slow in the snow and stuff.
That is the benefit. I actually always think that we should make a Canadian zombie movie because it would be very different circumstances as soon as winter hits, because there would be like zombies wandering through the snow, but also if you're wandering through the snow, you might step on a zombie, which would be a totally other terrifying side to it. Is just like
I feel like, I don't know, it's like the whole like the physiology behind zombies is very strange, because like if it's that cold outside and like zombies are barely ever clothed, right? So like they would just freeze. They don't have internal heat to produce.
True.
They would just like freeze. There's no way.
Yeah.
Right?
Also, the prairies, like the vast tracts of land in Canada where there's
you
nothing.
can see them for miles. Yeah,
right.
That's true.
Just set yourself up there, and if they come, I don't know, just ride a moose into the distance. Behind you.
Nice one. That's a good Canadian stereotype.
I very, very stereotyped view from a very ignorant person.
Yeah,
that's
ride
okay.
a moose.
We love that kind of stereotype.
Isn't that how you guys go to work? Like that's what I heard.
Well, yeah. Once I get outside of my igloo, I wind up. I have to tie my moose up. Let me. Well, where can people find you, MonkeyDM? How can we support you? Where can people find you and potentially even support you?
Okay, so I'm getting plenty of support at the moment, but if you want some cool D&D stuff that's free, you can go on r/MonkeyDM. It's on Reddit r/MonkeyDM. All my free stuff is there. It's very easy to sort. Go on my website, monkeydm.com. There's like free adventures, free homebrew monsters. Right now we're having an encounter generator that's been created, where you can like generate encounters by like the generated specifically for your party level and everything with all the free stuff. So like it's quite helpful.
Wow.
Yeah, if you want to introduce someone like a loved one or a friend or a family member, we've got one-on-one adventures all for free. So like feel free to go get those stuff. And I have a Patreon, but you know, get the free stuff first and get a touch for yourself. See if you like it.
I actually need those one-on-one adventures. My girlfriend, she wants to learn so she can interact with the kids that she teaches that are fans of it. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to check that
go.
out
It's
now.
free on my website. It's called Workshop of Wondrous War Machines, I believe.
Oh, nice. I love alliteration.
It's a bit Eberron-ish, but it's a one-on-one adventure. It's very nice. You get a little robot buddy, and I like it. It's a fun adventure.
Perfect.
So cool.
Oh, and your social media handles.
Oh, right. I have YouTube, MonkeyDM, and I have Instagram, MonkeyDM. Yeah, and I have TikTok, MonkeyDM, but delete TikTok from your phone. Probably do yourself some good.
I just did that in our conversation. I was like, oh my God, I need to get rid of this right now. I don't even use it anymore.
Yeah.
How did you come up with MonkeyDM? Is that?
It's actually there's like, so it's a double layer thing. I had a partner who called me Monkey a lot. So that was one of the reasons. Another one is my family name is Mascaro. And I'm an MD. Like a medical doctor, right? So MDM, MonkeyDM.
Wow. So layers. I love that.
Oh my gosh.
And also, you know, like DM as in Dungeon Master. So it was like...
Oh, so it's totally synchronous. It works together. That's awesome.
Yeah, and people like monkeys, so...
I love that.
Well, thanks so much, Evan. We appreciate you. And for everybody listening, keep it nerdy.
Keep it nerdy.
Thank you for listening to Nerdpreneur. Be sure to subscribe wherever you found us and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Every review helps our show grow. You can follow and chat with us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Nerdpreneur Podcast. Nerdpreneur is a labor of passion, and Chris and I would love to keep this thing going. So if you want us to continue making content, you can support us by going to patreon.com/nerdpreneur and become a member of the board. Members of the board get shout-outs, they can submit rapid-fire questions, they get behind-the-scenes peeks, and we record super fun and valuable content exclusive to our board members. We love all of you nerds. Keep it nerdy.
Nerdpreneur, you know I love my work. Life's a game, so I'ma take my turn. Nerds deserve to put the passion first, so let them rap a verse so they can all be heard.